Have you ever risked your life for something you believed in? In 1830, individuals did just that by reading David Walker's Appeal, a pamphlet so controversial and radical that it inspired hope in slaves while being terrifyingly threatening to slaveholders. Walker, a free black man who witnessed the horrors of slavery firsthand, penned a call to arms that challenged the hypocrisy of American Christianity and its claims of liberty. But his words came at a great cost, as he was hunted down and killed for daring to speak out. Join us as we explore the impact of David Walker's appeal on the abolitionist movement and how his message of empowerment and the importance of education continues to inspire a new generation of activists fighting against systemic racism and oppression. Don't miss it. A man named David Walker, born in Wilmington, North Carolina, in either 1796 or 1797, was a free black man due to his mother's status as a free woman. Despite his freedom, he was exposed to the horrors of slavery and witnessed a traumatic event in which a son was compelled to whip his own mother to death. In the year 1826, after traveling across the country, he settled down in Boston. Walker's life was satisfactory in many respects, but not ideal, as he lacked formal training in the garment industry and relied on his clothing store on Brattle Street to support himself and his family. Despite being a free black man, he was exposed to prejudice, which was rampant during this time period when African Americans were considered to be subhuman. Walker came to the conclusion that it was now or never. He made significant relationships with black activists during his time in Boston, becoming a member of organizations that spoke out against prejudice in the northern states and slavery in the southern states. One of his commitments to the Reason was his continuous commitment to the Liberator, the principal African-American paper to be distributed in the U.S. Walker turned into the most noticeable abolitionist bondage advocate in Boston towards the finish of 1828. Be that as it may, because of his race, he couldn't distribute his book in a similar way as a white writer. In September 1829, he successfully concealed copies of his booklet into the clothing he produced for sailors. Upon arrival in the South, these leaflets were disseminated to a wide network of contacts that Walker relied upon for assistance. Walker's appeal had a significant impact, inspiring hope and pride in slaves while being terribly threatening to slaveholders. Whites had enacted laws prohibiting black people from reading and circulating books that opposed slavery. In response, they offered significant rewards for anyone who could bring Walker back alive, making him a desirable target. Regardless of worries for his security, Walker would not look for asylum in Canada and be able to give his life for the purpose. David Walker published the third edition of his appeal in June 1830. Only 2 months after the fact, he was tracked down dead in an authority limit, despite the fact that he was accounted for that he died because of tuberculosis, the same illness that killed his girl. Some estimate that he was harmed, considered that his body was found close to his business area. The genuine reason for his demise at this point is unclear. During that time, Boston had a high incidence rate of tuberculosis and other infectious lung diseases. In the latter part of the 19th century, 70 to 90% of the metropolitan populace in North America and Europe was contaminated with tuberculosis. The illness was deadly for around 80% of the people who created dynamic tuberculosis, and the middle endurance time for TB patients during the 1800s was a long time from the hour of fighting till the very end. This made tuberculosis an excellent cover for foul play. Following the passing of David Walker, his written works continued to have a significant impact. Of particular interest was the booklet he authored, which stirred up controversy due to its contentious nature. The appeal was designed to promote a black nationalist philosophy, focusing on personal freedom and progress, while also calling on individuals to rise up against their oppressors. At the time, there was a movement advocating for the transportation of free black people to Africa in hopes of finding a better life. However, Walker expressed opposition to this form of colonization. David Walker, in his writings, expressed concern about the possibility of losing the property and homes that were obtained through the blood and tears of black Americans. He believed that those who sought to take away these possessions would need to present a compelling argument to justify their actions, or else risk their own downfall. When bondage was lawful, Christian slaveholders frequently referred to the Holy Book as proof that subjugation was legitimate as well as moral. However, Walker challenged this view and referred to it as ignorance. He believed that centuries of being submerged in ignorance had blinded his ancestors, and that they needed to break free from this mist to see the truth. Walker also criticized Christian preachers for using the Bible to defend slavery and teaching slaves to follow their masters. He believed that Christianity's hypocrisy was evident in its teachings of treating others as one would like to be treated, while at the same time condoning slavery. Walker felt that white Christians throughout history had exhibited the worst traits of humanity, including cruelty, greed, and tyranny. White people have historically used the Christian gospel as a means to oppress other groups and maintain power and financial gain. However, despite this, David Walker, who was a devoted Christian himself, believed that God's message should be communicated equally to people of all races. He also acknowledged that not only white people were responsible for the oppression of black people, and criticized the belief among some black individuals that they need to be submissive and deceitful. Walker attributed ignorance as the primary cause of oppression, which included a failure to understand that holding someone in bondage was unlawful, susceptibility to pro-slavery propagandas, and self-hatred. He believed that education could solve this issue and considered it his duty to impart knowledge and expose the younger generations to various career paths. In the early 1830s, a leaflet circulated that caused fear and paranoia among white residents. The efforts of black activists, including Walker, were viewed as significant obstacles. States began competing to create more stringent literacy rules. In 1831, Virginia passed a law prohibiting gatherings that taught black people how to read or write. The use of teaching slaves was also made illegal. The white population believed that the black community will remain uneducated and illiterate forever. These limitations made life even more difficult for free blacks and slaves. However, slaves were unable to predict the crucial role literacy would play in the fight to end slavery. David Walker's comments reflect pride and the recognition that younger generations would play a key role in the liberation of enslaved individuals. Despite numerous challenges and risks, enslaved individuals persevered in learning how to read and write. This was likely supported by slave owners who relied on the intellectual labor of enslaved individuals for tasks such as business management. Consequently, although formal education was denied to them, they passed on their knowledge to future generations. Unfortunately for slave owners, the dissemination of anti-slavery ideas was already well underway through written materials, and it was too late to stop it. Education played a crucial role in promoting critical thinking and awareness, enabling individuals to approach the struggle for freedom from new perspectives. The concept of slavery underwent significant revisions during the ensuing years. What began as modest initiatives, such as David Walker's appeal, quickly gained momentum and spread throughout the country. David Walker was an advocate for reconciliation between whites and blacks. He believed that such reconciliation could only happen if both groups were viewed as equals, and if the country acknowledged the violence, terror, and mistreatment that occurred in the past. However, Walker's efforts were unsuccessful. Despite his short life, David Walker was able to capture a significant amount of attention and contribute to the black community's heightened sense of self-assurance and pride. His kindness and generosity earned him an excellent reputation within Boston's black community. This was due to the efforts he made and the contributions he frequently made to the community. David Walker's impact on the abolitionist movement was immense. His appeal provided a powerful voice for the black community and sparked a new level of activism against slavery. Walker's advocacy for the education of black individuals and his condemnation of the hypocrisy of Christian slaveholders helped to shift the narrative and create a more critical examination of the justifications for slavery. Walker's call for black pride and self-reliance was also revolutionary. His appeal encouraged black individuals to reject the idea that they were inferior and to take an active role in their own liberation. This was a significant departure from the prevalent view that black people were helpless and dependent on white benevolence. David Walker's legacy continues to inspire those fighting against systemic racism and oppression. His message of empowerment and the importance of education remains relevant today, and his courage and dedication continue to inspire new generations of activists.